Bay Shore, who is thankful for air conditioning? Come on, how many of you are thankful? Oh my goodness, and I don't know if you can tell, but this room is packed if you just look around. And that's because it's so hot, you all can't skip church to go to the beach today. As a preacher, I am so thankful for this hot weather, I'll tell you. Anyway, you all look good. I'm so thankful that you guys are here with us. Here's what we know around here. Every Sunday is somebody's first Sunday. And I met quite a few of you already this morning. So if that is you, if it's your first time here, welcome to the basement. We are so glad that you're hanging out with us. And I really believe that you are sitting around some of the best people I've ever met in my life. And so you're in a safe place. We're glad you're here. We want this place to feel like it's home for you. And so maybe that means you just take off your shoes right now. Kick them up, put them on the back of the person's seat in front of you, maybe tickle their ear with your toes. Don't do that. I'm just kidding. But we do want this to feel like home for you, so we're really glad you're here. My name is Joel. I'm the campus pastor here. I want to meet you, so after the service, I'm always in the back left corner. They put me in the back left corner of the lobby, and that's a little messed up because my wife always says nobody puts baby in the corner. I'm like, well, they will put the pastor in the corner. Okay, so... But I have some gifts if you're a first-time guest. This is our way of saying, hey, thanks for being here. So thank you guys for tuning in and being here. Some of you are not here. That means you are joining us online. And I just want to say to everybody online and you all, in 2024, you never have to miss church. Like ever, okay? And so like when you skip church, and I know some of you are on the beach right now. You're watching. No judgment. But you can always join us online even if you miss church. And so you can tune in and check in that way. And so YouTube, Facebook, Spotify is a good way to tune in. And so if you're skipping church, just tune into church. Can you do that for me? You all just tell me that. I can feel it. No, hey, let's start today's talk. And to start today's talk, I want us all to go in, I want us to go back in time. All right, so just imagine this basement is a DeLorean. Okay? And Ed, you're going to be Doc Brown. All right? And that's an honor because Doc Brown is one of the greatest characters in movie history. Okay? Because I don't know if you know this, Back to the Future is the greatest movie of all time. And I know all you Star Wars fans are judging me right now, but that's okay. You're just wrong. I'm right, okay? So I love Back to the Future. So we're in a DeLorean. I need everybody to go back in time and think about the first social media site most of us ever heard of, and we'll put it on the screen, MySpace. How many of you had a MySpace account? Would you raise your hands if you had a MySpace account? Okay, it's less than I thought. Anybody still have a MySpace account? No, just kidding. Don't answer that. That's embarrassing for all of us. No, listen, MySpace changed everything, okay? I remember when I was in college, so now in our DeLorean, we're in around 2004, I was always at one of two places. I was either at Taco Bell, or you might think of it as Taco Hell, depending on what your experience has been with it. Anyway, but I was either at Taco Bell or I was on MySpace. I loved MySpace. And so this week I thought, whatever happened to MySpace? And so I went to myspace.com. Let me just tell you, it is not the same place. I could not find my account. I was looking for my profile. I couldn't find Tom, the guy who was just up here. I couldn't even find my way out of the home page. I didn't even know how to get past the home page. And I had that moment, that senior moment. I'm like, oh no. I'm at the point where technology has passed me. And so it reminds me of my favorite, I have a favorite GIF, I have a lot of favorite GIFs. You want to see my favorite GIF? Okay, I was having a senior moment when I couldn't get past the MySpace account page. And so here, hit that GIF.
Linda.
I felt like this old guy when I was on MySpace. I'm like, Stacy, I don't know where I am right now. Anyway, and so MySpace is all the rage. And then I remember around 2006, my buddy Andrew came back from college on spring break, and he was on a different website. And it was this website. So you all heard of this website? Some of you are on it right now, and I'm not even judging you. That's okay. You're on Facebook Marketplace. My wife is probably on there, I'm sure. But Andrew, I was like, what is this? And he's like, what, you never heard of Facebook? And I'm like, no, I know about, is it like MySpace? He's like, bro, Everybody is on Facebook now. Nobody is on MySpace. And so I got on Facebook. And let me tell you, the early days of Facebook, sort of amazing, right? There were no ads. I wasn't an algorithm yet. You know, it was like your crazy uncle with the conspiracy theories was not on there yet. It was amazing. And so I was on Facebook a lot after that. And then fast forward to about 2012, one day I woke up and I had a notification on Facebook. And I got that dopamine hit you get when they get that little notification. You ever get that? And so I was like, what is it? And I had a friend request. And I had a friend request from my mother. Come on, how many of you ever gotten the parents' friend request on? How many has happened? That is a crossroads moment right there. Because you're like, you got to clean up your profile. You got to delete all your pictures. You can't have anything on there. And in 2012, listen, everybody's parents got on Facebook. I don't care if your mother and father were 212 years old. They got on Facebook in 2012. And so I accepted Karen's friend request. Karen's my mother, by the way. But I noticed in 2012, I think all the Karens joined Facebook. I think they should have renamed it like Karen's book, okay? Like it was everywhere. And 2012 was the year that all the tech experts and everybody say that like social media went viral. Social media went mainstream. Now, social media was around before MySpace and all that, all right? But in 2012, it was like everybody went all in on social media. Now, something else happened in 2012, okay? Not only did our parents friend request us on social media and like social media went viral, in 2012, globally, we saw the biggest spike of anxiety, depression, fear, and self-harm ever recorded. In other words, 2012 was the year that the mental health epidemic hit. And tech experts and study after study and all the psychologists really think that ground zero for the mental health epidemic that we're facing right now started in 2012. And so in the history of the world, we haven't seen a mental health epidemic like we're seeing right now. Isn't that crazy? Now, here's why it's wild to me, especially that 2012 thing. If you've been around here, you kind of know my story. And if you're new here, just so you know, if you're used to like a church with a perfect pastor, we ain't that church. Okay, hi, my name is Joel, and I'm jacked up. Hi, Joel. Okay, thank you. Somebody did it. And so we do real church around here, and so I hope you're okay with that. And the reason that 2012 mental health epidemic hits me personally is because 2012 was the year that I had my own mental health epidemic. I was right in the middle of it. And in 2011, depression just said to me, hey, Tag, you're it. You're it. And I was connected to a traumatic event that I'm not going to go into today, but it was connected to a traumatic event that I didn't do anything wrong. I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I got run over on the train tracks. Ever happened to you before? Amen. And I found out, starting in 2011, okay, but in 2012, I was kind of in the middle of it. In 2011, I found out that depression is real. It is real. And maybe you're here and you don't think depression is real. And I hope you don't have to find out the hard way like I did that depression is real. And when I say depression, I'm not talking like, oh man, I'm depressed. It costs $3 a minute to park on the avenue. That's depressing. Listen, that's not depression. I'm talking about for a period of 2 years, every single day I woke up and I thought, I have no reason to leave my house today. And joy seems as far as Mars to me right now. And I think I'm going to feel like this probably for the rest of my life. And I felt like I was patient zero for the mental health epidemic. Now, let's imagine that you today could get in a DeLorean and you could go back to 2012 me. You could go visit 2012 depressed me. You could just show up in my living room. And you could say to me, hey, Joel, in 2024, you're not going to be depressed anymore. And you're going to be standing on the stage of a campus called Bay Shore, and you're going to be standing on the stage of the greatest church in the world. And you're going to have an amazing group of people who have given almost $1 million for our next building project. And you're going to have the best staff in the entire world that is working alongside of you. And you're going to be able to personally baptize over 225 people over the last 10 years. You will lead over 500 people to Jesus. And so you just hold on. Just hold on, Joel. I would have been able to look at you and say, listen, I could imagine myself being a center in the NBA easier than I can imagine what you are saying to me right now. Like, that's how far I was away from that in 2012. But I am standing on this stage as the campus pastor of the greatest church in the entire world, free from mental illness. I have seen miracle after miracle after miracle happen in my life and in our church's life. And maybe the greatest miracle is I get to tell you that there is hope on the other side of your rock bottom. And so listen, I'm excited to call this message, and we'll put this on the screen. Rock bottom isn't the end. Rock bottom isn't the end. And if you tune out and miss everything I say today, I want you to hear this one thing. I believe God is here. Yeah. I believe he is in this room. And I think he wants to remind somebody of this, if you can put this on the screen. I am greater than whatever is making you anxious. God is greater right now than whatever it is that's keeping you up at night and making you anxious. Our God is greater than that thing. Now, you may say, okay, Pastor Joel, optimist Pastor Joel, like you're supposed to say that because you're like the good news pastor guy. And I am. But I've also been exactly where you are, which is why I'm just coming to you as a fellow struggler. And I just want to tell you that if you're in the pit of depression or if you've hit rock bottom, I just want you to know, and we'll put this on the screen. Number one, you're not crazy. And number two, you're going to get through it. You are not crazy. People may look at you like you're crazy. People may say that you're crazy. I'm telling you, you are crazy. And you're going to get through it. Now, again, if I'm you, I'm like, okay, Pastor Joel, optimist Pastor Joel, okay. But how? How am I going to get through this? Well, I could give you a lot of hows today. I learned some hows through my depression. I could tell you to exercise right, eat right, sleep right, see a therapist right. I could tell you all that stuff. But today's talk is not about a how. Today's talk is about a who. And the who is Jesus. The who is God. And so who is he? Who is that guy? Well, I don't think maybe there's a better place to look than the most famous passage in the entire Old Testament with a guy named David. And if you think you have highs and lows, you should read the book of Psalms. My man had mental breakdown after mental breakdown after mental breakdown, okay? So David, who wrote the most famous passage probably in the entire Old Testament. You've heard it. It's in Psalm 23, starting in verse 1. We'll throw it up on the screen. It says this. David says, "The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil." Why? Because I slept 8 hours and I ran a 5K and I ate the right thing? No. Because you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, quick question. Can you picture this version of Jesus that we just read? Can you picture that version of Jesus? Now, I don't know if you know this, but Jesus had a nickname. Jesus gave himself a nickname, okay? That's which is cool when you give yourself a nickname. He said, "I am the good shepherd." Everybody say the good shepherd. Now, a good shepherd takes care of us, right? A good shepherd protects us, right? And so how does a good shepherd protect us? Okay, well, the good shepherd in what we just read has a rod and a staff. Everybody say a rod and a staff. Okay, now I'm a preacher's kid. I'm a PK. Have you heard about those PKs before? Listen, as a PK, I feel like I need to defend us PKs. You've heard bad things about PKs, and they are not true. Okay? We're not bad. We're way worse than you think. Okay? I remember growing up, when my dad would be on the stage preaching, we used to have this soda machine behind our church, okay, which is, by the way, that's how I got addicted to Mountain Dew. We had a soda machine at church. It's not my fault, really. Anyway, while my dad was preaching, me and my friend Jonah, we used to sneak out of church, and we would go behind the church, and Jonah showed me how we could get our little skinny kid arms, and we could reach up into the church soda machine and steal sodas. And so during church, while my dad was preaching, while I was skipping what my dad was saying, me and Jonah would be behind the church crushing stolen sodas. Preacher's kids, man. Okay, that's what I'm working with, okay? And so I'm a preacher's kid. We're all kind of messed up. In our church building, we had the soda machine behind the building. But inside of our church building, we had all these paintings of Jesus around the place. And so I found one of them in particular that was in our church foyer. I found it on the internet this week. This is the picture that was in our church foyer. Anybody ever seen this picture before? Yeah. This is the whitest Middle Eastern Jesus I've ever seen in my life. And just so you know, Jesus did not have blonde hair and blue eyes and an American flag pin on his robe. Just making sure we're all on the same page. But Jesus looks so nice in this painting that was in our church foyer. And in my Sunday school room, there was another painting that looked like this one. We'll put it on the screen. This is the best version of it I could get. Which, look how perfect his robe looks. How in the world are you going to be shepherding 100 sheep? And he doesn't, you see any sheep stuff on his robe? You see sheep stuff? Because I don't see sheep stuff. But kid me thought Jesus is so happy and he's smiling all the time and he's, kind. He couldn't hurt a fly. He just carries sheep around, And I don't want to get struck by lightning or anything, but when I was in the pit of depression, this isn't the guy that I was looking for. You know what I mean? I didn't need wimpy Jesus. I needed a protector, man. And so, do we have the wrong guy when we're in a depression? Do we have the wrong guy? No, I think we have the wrong painting of Jesus. Because what did verse 4 say? Okay, we can put that back up there if you could. Okay, it says that Jesus has a staff, but what else does he have? Jesus has a rod. Listen, did you know Jesus carried a nightstick? I call the Jesus that carries a rod, I call him, savage Jesus. Because shepherds would carry a rod and would literally beat the crap out of anything that messed with their flock. They would even kill stuff that would mess with their flock. Everybody say savage Jesus. Savage Jesus. Listen, when you've hit rock bottom, yeah, you need a comforter and a shepherd. But you also got a protector. Now, I debated on whether or not I should say what I'm about to say to you, or tell this story. And here's why. It's 2012 was the mental health epidemic. The 2020s, the epidemic is everybody's offended by everything. Everybody say, triggered. Listen, I remember a few years ago, I showed a picture of my kids during the service. They were riding their bikes. And after the service, this lady came up to me in the lobby and she was like, I didn't like that message. And I've heard that before, by the way. It's okay. I was like, well, why? And she said, well, your kids weren't wearing helmets in that picture. I was like, oh. Nice to meet you, Karen. Okay. So what I'm about to tell you comes with a trigger warning, but you're all going to be okay. And afterwards, you can tell me you didn't like it. It's fine. I don't care. I grew up in the 80s in Gumboro. And the 80s in Gumboro was a special place, okay? It was a place where the men were manly and the ladies were manly. And that's not even the offensive part. So, and in the 80s in Gumboro, people shot guns for fun. I remember 8-year-old me, first time I shot a 12 gauge, I didn't even have any training. I shot this 12 gauge, and my dad didn't show me what to do, so I had the butt of the gun right here, went right into my nose. I bled everywhere. And my dad, the only thing he said is, just don't tell your mother. That's it. So that's my childhood. And you might not like that, but listen, I didn't have any choice in it, but I wouldn't change it for anything, just so you know. And so I still have some of the guns that were given to me when I was a teenager in my house now. Now, don't worry. They're locked up. Don't call Child Protective Services. My kid's like, But we have this alarm system in our house. And so just imagine at 2 a.m., the alarm system goes off. Okay, what's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to roll over and I'm going to say, Stacy, can you go check the living room? No, I'm going to go get my Remington 870 Express shotgun, and I'm going to make sure that nobody is going to mess with my kids. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And you might want to prank me in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. And just let me tell you, if you run into me in my house at 2 a.m., you're not going to meet Pastor Joel. You're going to meet Gumboro Joel. That's who you're going to meet. I ain't calling the cops. I'm calling the coroner. You're done. I will do anything to protect my kids. You all with me? That's how parents are. And so here's the thing. You may not like that illustration, but I want you to know that Jesus isn't just your comforter. He carries a weapon. He has a rod, and he is not afraid to use it to protect his flock. And his flock is me, and it's you and you and you and you and you and you. And so when you've hit rock bottom, what do you need to know, or what do you need to do? All right, we'll put this on the screen. You need to see Jesus for who he really is. And Jesus is your protector. And it takes his staff to comfort you, but it takes his rod to protect you. Because Jesus isn't just some glossy, perfect picture in the church foyer, okay? Jesus is your protector, and he can go from a shepherd to a protector just like that. Now, let's talk a little bit about, your anxiety and your stress. A lot of times we think our anxiety and our stress is our mental illness, okay? But that's not your mental illness. Those are symptoms. If you look at your symptoms of stress and anxiety, they always are rooted in this word we'll put on the screen, fear. Fear is always the root, okay? I'm afraid I won't beat cancer. I'm afraid that my spouse is going to leave me, or I'm afraid that my spouse did leave me, so I'm going to be lonely for the rest of my life. I'm afraid that I won't be able to provide for my family. I'm afraid that I won't be able to, or I'm going to lose everything, or I'm not important. Fear is the root. And I just want to say to you, whatever you're afraid of today, Jesus is greater than your greatest fear. Jesus is greater than your greatest fear, and he will go from shepherd Jesus to savage Jesus so fast if he has to protect you, because he has your back. Everybody say, he's got my back. Now, that reminds me of my best buddy, Bo Dukes, or I call him Bo Stinking Dukes. We'll put Bo Stinking Dukes' picture on the screen. This is me and my buddy, Bo Stinking Dukes. Some of you recognize Bo right here. Hardly anybody has my back more than this guy right here. Bo is so good. He calls me all the time during the week just to check on me and just say, hey, how you doing? And I don't know if you've ever had a bad day, but sometimes I have bad days. And so sometimes he calls me, he's like, hey, how's your day going? I'm like, not good. And but Bo, he likes to know things. You have friends like that? So he'll be like, what's going on? Tell me what's happening over there. And so sometimes I'll be like, okay, well, so-and-so said this, or, Church Carl was mean to me, or whatever, And I can't tell you how many times Bo has been like, hey, let me call you right back. Right in the middle of that. And I'm like, this is the wrong time. And then my phone will ring 10 minutes later, and he'll be like, hey, don't worry, they won't mess with you anymore. I'm like, what'd you just do? He's like, don't ask if you don't want to know the answer. And I love Bo Stinking Dukes because he has my back. But let me tell you, I have somebody greater than Bo Dukes who has my back. And you have somebody greater than whoever your Bo Dukes is that has your back. Because God has your back. Yahweh has your back. The creator of the heavens and the earth has your back. The great I am has your back. The one that we sang worship songs to this morning has your back. I want you to feel that today. I want you to see that today. And so what do we do? Well, I think David, who wrote Psalm 23, gives us a great answer in Psalm 16. And so this is a few Psalms before, and this is what David said he did. He said in verse 8, I keep my eyes always on my fear, my stress, my anxiety. No. I keep my eyes always on the Lord. With him at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Therefore, my heart is glad, and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest secure. Now, I was looking at this week, and I was thinking back to 2012 me, and I didn't feel like that verse. You know what I mean? I was fixated on something, and I was fixated on my depression. All right, when I woke up, I thought about, all I could see was what I was going through. All right, in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep at 2 a.m., all I thought about was what I was going through. And I wish somebody would have told me what I'm going to tell you, and we'll put this on the screen. If you want to defeat what you're fixated on, fixate on Jesus. If you want to defeat what you are fixated on right now, fixate on Jesus. And so when anxiety attacks you, which, listen, it will happen probably before you get out of a church parking lot. Because I don't know if you know, but there is like no parking up there, and it is stressful up there for everybody. But when you are feeling stressed, we have this option, this time and moment where we can say, hey, I'm going to look at you, Jesus. I'm not going to look at my fear. I'm not going to look at my anxiety. I'm going to fixate on you. And you might say, oh, okay, so you're just bury my head in the sand then? Is that what you're saying, Joel? Okay, I'm not saying that. I am saying that when we fixate on our giant God, our giants in our life start to fall. And the reason I say our giants in our life start to fall is because David, I don't know if you know of the story David and Goliath. You heard that story before? That's the same David. Except when David defeated Goliath, David was a little shepherd boy. And so when he defeated Goliath, now listen, Goliath, would you agree that Goliath was big, scary, and hairy? Yes or no? Yes. And little shepherd Goliath, or little shepherd David, somehow was able to not fixate on this giant in front of him, but he fixated on God, and that's how Goliath fell. And I don't know what Goliath that you're facing right now, but I do know that when you fixate on our giant God, our giants start to fall. Which, by the way, God is way bigger than whatever giant you are looking at right now. And so when you look at God and you see he's bigger than what you're afraid of, then our fears don't look so big anymore. It kind of reminds me of this. Last summer, we were at a neighborhood pool, me and the kids, and we probably rode our bikes there without helmets. See, I like to poke the bear a little bit. So if you talk to me in the lobby and you say something, I might poke the bear. Anyway, so we're at the pool, and my kids were like, Daddy, we got to go to the bathroom. And I knew if our kids went to the bathroom in the pool, then our HOA probably put that chlorine in the pool that changes the color when the kid, so I'm like, don't do that, kids. You got to go use the bathroom. And they're like, Daddy, can we just, run to the bathroom in the building right there? And at our pool, the clubhouse is where the bathroom is, and it's literally like, if you're at the pool, the clubhouse is like, it's right there. You can see it. I can throw a stone at it. Okay, it's right there. So I was like, yeah, kids, why don't you go to the bathroom, stay together. I'm gonna stay here and tan my bald head, and you just go to the bathroom by yourselves. And so my kids went into the building, and they came running out of the building like 2 seconds later. And they come running up to me and were like, Daddy, this old lady in the building, she yelled at us and said we couldn't be in there by ourselves, and she was like really, really mean, and she scared us to death. And parents, you ever had that moment where like somebody messes with your kids and you want to Jesus jujitsu somebody? That ever happened to you? Listen, I had that moment. And so next thing I know, this old lady comes out of the clubhouse and she walks into the pool gates, and I know she's looking for my kids. And I'm normally like very calm, very kind, but I was in that mode where I was like, come on, bring it. Come on over here. And so she saw my kids, and so she started like power walking over to me, like she's like doing aerobics or something. And she said, are you these kids' dad? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, listen, your kids were in the building and they shouldn't have been in there by themselves, and I don't like it, and don't let them go in the building all by themselves anymore. And I just had this moment where I said, listen, I am their parent. I am their parent, okay? And if you want to scare somebody, listen, I'll introduce you to Scary. I will turn into church Scary on you, okay? I'll turn into Pastor Scary on you. And so don't talk to my kids anymore. And listen, it felt good. It feels good in this moment, really, to just tell you the story. But my kids were scared of her until they came out and saw me. And I think even Nixon was like, yeah, we're his kids, lady. But my point is this, all right? The scary lady was still there. But now my kids saw me and thought that I was bigger than the scary lady. And I don't know what you're struggling with right now, what seems big in your life, okay? But we have the option to believe and to fixate on saying, hey, if my God is bigger than Goliath, he is bigger than whatever I am scared of. He is bigger than my anxiety. And listen, Goliath was big and scary. What you're facing may be big and scary. I'm not downplaying that, but I am saying if God was bigger than Goliath, then he is bigger than whatever your biggest fear and anxiety is. So what do? Well, David said, his secret sauce was, he said, I always keep my eyes on the Lord. He says, with him in my right hand, I will not be shaken. Now, my favorite verse in the Bible is Isaiah 41:10, and it's funny. David's words and Isaiah's words, it looks like they copied each other. They got a little plagiarism situation because there's a lot of overlap between what David said and what Isaiah said, and this is what Isaiah says in 41 verse 10. He says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you with my righteous right hand." I don't know if there is a better phrase in the Bible than these four words. I am your God. Would you just say that with me today? I am your God. Let's say that again. I am your God. And you may say, I can't say that because I'm kind of depressed right now. I don't feel that. Well, don't feel it, but just say it. I am your God. And you may say, well, but if I say that, I'm not being real. And I want to be authentic. I want to be real. Listen, you want to talk about real? I'll be real. Okay? And this is important. We'll put this on the screen. Just being real. The tomb is empty and Jesus is alive. That's real. If we got to be real, let's be real. The tomb is empty and Jesus is alive. And so when the Bible says, hey, I am your God, if you're in the pit of depression, okay, when you've hit rock bottom, listen, you just need to know that if God can defeat the grave and death, then he can defeat stress and anxiety and mental illness. I'll end with this. Let's think about when I was really in the peak of when I was struggling with depression. And I'm not going to go into what triggered my depression. Maybe one day I'll do that, but I'm not ready to do that. Just know it's real, it's devastating, and it's probably worse than you think, really. But I remember one night I took the dog, Eli, outside, and I was mad at God, to be honest with you, because I was stuck in this depression loop. And I just remember sitting on my stairs waiting for my dog to go to the bathroom when I was sitting outside and looking at the stars. And I was like, God, why won't you make this go away? Like you can. You say you can. I know you can. I believe you can. It's still here. Why won't it go away? I've got a prescription. I talked to a therapist and nothing is working. And by the way, God can handle your anger and your questions, just so you know. So I was mad at God. I was sitting on the front step. And about 18 months before that night, I was at a funeral, and the funeral pamphlet actually had Isaiah 41:10 on the back of that pamphlet. And I was just starting my depression 18 months before when I was at this funeral, and I cut that Isaiah 41:10 out and I put it in my wallet. And so I'm sitting on the front steps waiting for my dog to go to the bathroom, and I felt like God said, get out your wallet and look at that note. And so I reached back and I I grabbed my wallet and I grabbed that cutout from that funeral. And I felt like God said, just read it. And I could barely get through it, but I was like, okay. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And I felt like in that moment, God was sitting next to me. And he just said, I am your God, and I am greater than this. Now, I wish I could tell you that the next morning I woke up and I was singing happy, and I wrote a bestseller on how to never be depressed again, and I went on Facebook and said, I'm free, but none of that happened. I woke up depressed the next day. But that next night, I was taking Eli out to go to the bathroom, and I felt like God said, look at your wallet again. So I did, and I went through that verse again. And this went on for weeks, then it went on for months, and then one night I was looking at this verse, and it hit me that I hadn't thought about my depression for a week. And that hadn't happened in 2 years. But I kept on going out every night and reading this, and this became a worship song for me. And a month went by after that, and I'm like, I haven't thought about my depression for a month. And in October of 2013, my depression lifted because of 4 words. I am your God. But for 13 years, I have carried this around in my pocket, so I will be reminded that rock bottom isn't the end. And throughout my depression, listen, God was my comfort. He was my shepherd. But he was also my protector. And he made Psalm 23 very real to me. And maybe that's where you're at. You're at the bottom, kind of like I was. And I just want to tell you, I'm sorry. I've been there. But I want to tell you, standing on the other side of it, Jesus is greater. He's greater. Greater than what? He's greater than your rock bottom. He's greater than your depression. And he's greater than the pit that you feel like you're in. He's greater. Why is he greater? Because the Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That is our God. Aren't you grateful? And so today we're going to end by singing a worship song, because I think worship is the most powerful antidepressant in the world. And so we're going to sing a song called Peace Be Still. But before we do that, and while the band is coming up, I said that phrase, I am your God. Maybe today you've never made that decision to say, God, you are my God. And before we sing this song about peace, this is the best moment in the entire world to say, you know what? I want that to be my shepherd, my comforter, and my protector. And so if you would just bow your heads, and if that's something you want to do today, where you can say, hey, I am your God. God, you are my God today. I want to make you that God of my universe, of my life. Today's the greatest day to do that. You can just raise your hand if you want to make that decision while no one's looking around. And I see those hands in the room. So just say this out loud with me. If you're a Jesus follower, just raise your hand on that. Just say this with me. Dear Jesus, today I am choosing to make you my God. I believe you're the Son of God, and you died on the cross for my sins, but you walked out of a tomb alive for my forgiveness. So today, I'm saying, you are my God. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Can we just make some noise for those who made that decision today?